So the explanation Doug just gave us is how you, as a church, as a congregation, are pulling this off, but you're also very involved with many other kinds of organizations. They're not churches, they're not even faith-based,
right?
But you're interested in doing good stuff.
Correct. Anytime you can bless the city, you're honoring God. And we're doing it from that mindset. Others we may partner with may not have that same mindset yet, but we do it to honor God. And for instance, we believe this mindset of blessing a city applies to every single industry. It's perfectly obvious for a church, but I think a lot of businesses are starting to figure this out too. A lot of industries, when you become a good community citizen, when you Tom's shoes, buy a pair of shoes, we give a pair of shoes to somebody who doesn't have shoes. People connect with that. Why? It's woven into the human being. It's there by God's design, the understanding of what's good and right and pure. And so we make intentional efforts to bless the city, and we try to help other people figure out how they can bless the city through their own career industry focus.
And so I'm going to make a wild guess that the givers get blessed in ways that can be stated concretely, can be seen.
Absolutely right. One of the things that came out of this whole journey so far for me that was a pleasant surprise. When the Lord spoke, I knew we were supposed to do it, so we were going to do it no matter what. And you always kind of go into things a little tentative because, our faith is small at times and we wonder, how this is going to play out, but it's what we got to do. God always outgives us. The moment we started going down this journey, it wasn't long before a family comes to us and says, you know what, we'll pay off the mortgage if you take the mortgage money and we'll start a foundation that'll bless the city.
Yeah, that's pretty good.
That's a pretty good thing. We never could have created that idea, right? We have access now to a facility for one of our multi-site campuses that's a phenomenal facility that we couldn't have built. Because a church that was in it initially was going to be doing something different, and they saw what we were doing and appreciated our heart and mindset for the city. And so it came to us and says, would you want to partner here and do a deal with us to rent this facility for the long term to eventually it becomes your own, so that we could expand our reach in that particular area. That took great humility on their part and ours. And we appreciate them, and I think they appreciate us. And
you can't call the bank and say, could you find a church that has a facility underutilized and give us a sweetheart deal?
Right.
It just doesn't happen. And to get his point, just to put some quantification, when we did the foundation, we did over 5 times as much more money. This audit that we were talking about of changing our focus to helping people be fully devoted, we probably send hundreds. I'm guessing we got 4 or 5 times more of our people going out in the community because we're not trying to get them in and do it ourselves. Here, go to this good prison ministry and volunteer for there.
Right.
So it's people and dollars going out, and the people part is just as important as the dollars.
Yes, okay, Pastor Millian, this is what I want to know, because I know a whole lot of people are going to want to know this. They're in many different kinds of organizations. They're in many different sizes, and they have different sizes of budgets, and they have different amounts of human resources.
Right.
How can anybody really believe everything that you and Pastor Doug are saying can happen? In other words, what does it really boil down to? Somebody comes along and pays off a huge mortgage or part of it. Somebody like you guys have hundreds of volunteers. This doesn't exist everywhere. So what is this bottom line stuff, the principles that they need to know in order to experience the joy and the success that you have?
You start where you are, and you're faithful with what you have. It really is that simple.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter how much you have. We have to be just as diligent to be just as good stewards of what we have, wise in how we invest it. And that's how we view it. We're investing what we have. We're not spending money or spending people's time. We're investing it. And so when we were a lot smaller church, the idea was, how do we invest in our people so that if we're asking volunteers to do something, we're making it so that it's worth their time. We're organized. We do it so that they show, I'm glad I did this. This was worth my valuable time. And then they get to go do, and then they realize, wow, God is here. He's real. He's good. He's powerful. He loves me. They see it, and that motivates them to do even more. And so it really isn't a matter of scope. I believe it's a matter of stewardship and quality with what you have.
Yeah.
And that tends to multiply, and you get better at with what you have.
We have friends, small businesses, small churches who are kindred spirits who have gotten infected with the same vision. I mean, we weren't special. We were just glad we finally got it.
Right.
But that's out there in the kingdom, and people of all sizes are responding, and it's fun to work with them because size isn't the issue. It's like, hey, we could do this better together. You have this, we have that. Let's do it.
Right.
Okay, then let me ask you a very tricky question.
Mm-hmm.
Can all of this happen if the senior pastor or the senior director, the CEO, is micromanaging? Is the secret to micromanage?
The secret is never to micromanage. Despite people who might like doing that, I am a firm believer that if you don't release and empower, it will never get past your own bandwidth. You have to let go.
So you don't have to generate the ideas. In fact, you cannot generate it, is what you're saying.
No, I have plenty of ideas, but 90% of what we do around here didn't come from me. All I did was give it permission. You know, one of the things I like about Doug is he's a visionary. He's probably more of a visionary than I am.
But wait a minute, you didn't just give permission. I mean, let me explain.
Sure.
Right? You're saying, I'm just bringing this back. You're saying, yeah, you gave your blessing on it because you have someone in a position who can fan those flames. So it's more than just giving permission. Built into this is that you have a system here to help fan the flames, other ideas, to generate, to direct resources, support.
You have to be intentional. So whether you have resources to have staff people or whether you have volunteers, either way you have to be intentional. You have to prayerfully talk, interact, find people, build trust with them who have the gifts and callings, and recognize it and say, I want to know if you're willing, and I'm empowering you to do this. And then you dream and you pray and you release and then you follow up and you allow them to go do what God's called them to do. Some of the best ministries we have that come out of this church did not start with staff people.
Imagine that.
Imagine that.
We're not disingenuous when we tell people and new members that our best pastors are many of our small group leaders and team members.
Absolutely.
Now, I appreciate our staff. We have some excellent women and men here doing great stuff. But at the lay level, some of them outshine us. They really do. And that's how we can be the impact in the city. And more we can highlight that, people go, wow, I really can be used of God. Most of our Christian experience does not empower. And it's really important for the senior pastor to do that empowering from the pulpit, his own personal example, and his staff and the elders when he teaches down level out of the pulpit. And that's the consistent message that Chuck has echoed through our church.
Okay, well then what is this example? He just said that you are an example. What have you done that you can say you're practicing what you preach? Let me ask you another way, Pastor.
Sure.
You told how you got to this point. Now that you're here, how has it changed you?
Talk about how you do the Canning Hunger thing. That is so awesome what you do in your neighborhood. Almost no one in the church knows what he does in his neighborhood.
Well, and we don't do that anymore.
Right, but
Okay.
for a season you did that,
Because
and it had a huge impact.
Because the people asked us to do it differently.
Yeah.
But for a while, what we did is we would go to our neighbors, we'd knock on their door, introduce ourselves. We wanted to meet them. You know, it's a busy North Raleigh culture. People are in and out. They're going 1,000 miles an hour. Wanted to meet them, and we told them that what we were doing was collecting canned goods once a month for the food pantry. Would they be willing to give? We'll collect them. They don't even have to do anything except put them on their porch, and we'll come get them. And by doing that, we began to build some good relationships and get to know some of our neighbors. Well, that allowed us to invite them to a Christmas gathering at our home where people could come in and have some hot apple cider and visit and, you know, just to start connecting. And that's kind of turned into an annual Christmas gathering, or sometimes it's now a summer gathering, which we don't initiate it. Other people in the neighborhood picked it up and they're doing it and we show up.
That is very cool.
You know, but that's a simple thing and anyone can do that.
I'll give you another example since
Sure.
you're not bringing it up. You're doing something with connecting employers, trainers, and prospective employees.
Yes. Yeah, this is one of those things that came out of time away listening to God. Because one of the things in my heart was, how can we help businesses? You know, the economy was in a difficult place, and a lot of people were losing their jobs. A lot of people were trying to get reemployed, and so how can we help? And so this idea began to come into my heart and mind, and I came out of the business world originally, so I had some ideas and connections in it. But we created a thing called the Sounding Board, and basically we try to do three things. We try to provide career mentoring for college kids. because what all the studies are showing is that they don't get the kind of guidance they would like from the school because the school is overwhelmed. They're under-resourced. They're overwhelmed with the number of students. They can't give the personalized attention. So much of these kids are changing their majors. Well, every time you change a major, it adds at least a year, sometimes two, to your college experience and your debt. And so if they could talk to someone who's actually doing the job and interact with them, it may help them narrow in and focus and say, I do want to do that.
That is to say, the job that they're looking for.
Correct. So they're trying to decide what they're going to major in school, right? So they're spending time and money trying to pursue a direction. Often they don't know much about that direction. So we try to link them up with people who have to do the jobs, and then they can do that. The second thing is we do young professional coaching. We target young professionals. There are 10 skills that 700 businesses, industries were researched in 2013. They came up with 10 skills they said are keeping kids from getting hired and keeping them from getting promoted. And they're not getting them in school. So we have all kinds of professional coaches here in our church and all around the community in the United States. We've got a lady here at our church who happens to be one of the leaders in that realm. Tasked her, she built a network. We put together 10 videos she created to address each of those skill sets. They're on the website for free. Anyone could go on there and watch those videos. Then they can click on one of the coaches, send them an email, and begin to do virtual e-coaching with them through that thing so they can get over the hump of keeping them from getting hired, or maybe getting them past that bad performance review to a promotion.
So that's two things.
Two things. Third thing is small business consulting. We're targeting small businesses that have 20 employees or less. Usually it's under $1 million a year revenue. Most of them are really under $500,000. It's the kind of businesses that a typical consulting firm wouldn't look at. They don't have the resource to pay them to do what they typically would be really good at doing. Well, I happen to be pretty good at that. I enjoy it. And I have connections and friends and resources who have different skill sets. And so we put...
Doug said you used to be in help with the development of
property management, malls and shopping centers and things of that nature. And I've always enjoyed, those kinds of issues and development type of things. So I started doing consulting for small businesses. So it started with some small business owners in our church, and now it's spread to some small business owners in the community. And so I get to sit down with them, help them figure out how to get over the hump and get to the next place.
So you are involved. You're answering my question, how this has changed you.
Right. I'm out in the city through a personal passion, which is helping businesses.